Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Outskirts Overland. Appreciate you guys being here. I had a guest today lined up, and I actually canceled on them because I have fixing my mic, but I have like a really I just had a topic that was weighing on me, and I am. I'm the boss here. So I kind of just called an audible and I'm going to run with what was kind of weighing on me and what I've been thinking about. So that's where I'm going to take it. So, anyways, first things first, got to let you guys know, hey, if you guys, I use Onyx Off Road for all my mapping, all the mapping that I do. If you guys want to get 20% off Onyx Off Road, use Global Overland 236 and that'll go ahead and get you 20% off Onyx Off Road. It's what I use for everything. You can download offline maps. Really, I have met no capacity to how many offline maps you can download, and you can label them up so they're kind of always there. It's not like you download it and only have it 24 hours. It's there forever. If you guys are in the Midwest and you drive a Toyota Trucks of Arkansas, excuse me, is a Facebook group full of really cool guys. A lot of friends of mine, new friends, friends I had before, are in that group. It's an extremely positive group, and the Toyota Land Cruisers, Razorback Land Cruisers chapter just had the Razorback Ramble this last weekend. Looks like it was a great success. I haven't got a chance to really dive into it from those that attended, but that will come, I'm sure. So, anyways, today I wanted to talk about, one big, like, this is a huge thing to me. So I wanted to talk about, obviously, this is an overlanding podcast. This is an overlanding stream. I'm a guy that enjoys overlanding, but there's a few things that have been weighing on me, and they'd pertain to anything. I mean, whether it was your work, being a parent, being a husband, anything that you want to do, it would pertain to. Anything that you strive to have success in or are looking to grow in a certain direction toward, whatever success is. Um, and it's just been weighing on me. I think about it a lot and I talk about it a lot. There's people that are close to me, very few people that are close to me, but there are people that are close to me. And I value time over anything else. Like, as far as currency is concerned, that money doesn't mean a whole lot to me, really. Stuff, although you guys would think stuff, based on, whether you follow me or not, like just how much stuff I do or don't buy, that stuff matters a lot to me, but really time matters the most to me, and making sure that I'm doing what I'm happy about doing with my time, or whatever, makes my kids happy with the time I have with them, or my family, my friends, my work life, my personal life, like whatever. I care a lot about time, and I'm almost, as a father, I care a lot about the time I have with my kids and what we're doing with that time, and like letting them be kids, like I don't try to be too much of like like I'm like, you're kids, you got to be kids. There's gonna be a time in your life where you don't get to be kids. You kind of got to be a grown up, and you have a boss, and you got to do stuff that other people say, and it's not a whole lot of fun. So time matters to me a lot. And as I think about overlanding and how I got into overlanding, like really pretty hard, I think about, I'm 30, I'm almost 37, so I'm not old, but I'm not young. So I'm almost 37. In August, I'll be 37. And I think about kind of how you know, I don't want to make this the anti Dave Ramsey, but at the same time, like, I even was talking to my family about this, like, this idea that like everybody's saving, saving up time, saving up money, saving up resources, they're saving, you're working, you're saving, you're doing all these things so that, later you can do this thing you want to do. But like, to me, given that time's the most valuable, to me, the value of the minute I'm in is like $100 bill, and later is like 50 cents. Like, cause later's not guaranteed. Later's like gambling, and I don't do that very much. Like later's like gambling, where like right now, in the immediate, in the shorter term, to me is more important because that's when I can get like I can be doing what I want to do because things happen. And I don't know if it's due to my life experiences, from the military or anything else, where I kind of and this will get on a little bit of a, if you don't relate, you don't relate, but maybe I can catch you. But like when you go to the military, you're a 17 or 18-year-old kid. You have no idea what that is like. I can tell you firsthand, you don't know. Even if your family members were in the military, like you weren't the military member, you have no idea. So you sign up for this thing for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, depending, and you have no idea what you're getting into, but you're doing it. Like, and I think that creates a mental shift in any military members. Like, you took a jump, like you jumped, for lack of a better term, into this life that's going to take you away, change you. You no longer have agency over what you're doing, what you're wearing, how it's going, when you shower, when you go to the bathroom, how you talk. Nothing. It all changes. Um, and then that brings me to, I talked to my mom today and asked her if I could talk about her, but my mom um, is paralyzed. So my mom is paralyzed from the waist down, and she wasn't always. So I mean, between just my personal life, I'm getting to the age to where people are getting injured. People are getting sick. People are passing away early, or frequently due to sickness or car wrecks, and you cannot sit and like you none of that's predictable. Like you can sit and plan in your 401k, and you can sit and plan out your retirement, but who's saying you make it there? Who's saying you get there? You can't sit there. Like, so for instance, like my mom, she could walk, okay? Like if my mom had spent her whole life with the goal of running a marathon after she retired, well, she that opportunity's come and gone. Like she wouldn't have had a chance. And now that was not by any means a goal of my mother's, but one thing that I get from my mom is like a whole lot of, it's like a selfish it's like a selfish, reckless abandon, almost, to be like it's kind of like, hey, that's what I want to do and that's what I'm gonna do. But it does kind of go in line with like my idea of the value of time, and like, you know there tomorrow's not guaranteed. I don't want to get too philosophical here, but the reason that this goes in is because I want to try and explain, myself. Prior to what I do for a living now and everything, I was very big in the fitness industry and coached a lot of people. And I used it then too. Like, what is important to you? Like, if you're employing someone like a trainer, a nutritionist, dietitian, whatever, coach, what are you spending your money on? Like, are you spending your money just to say you got this person, but that person can't facilitate it for you? And that's the same here. Like, I'm the only person that's going to facilitate me getting into overlanding, building a truck, doing this. And now there are things that need to kind of come together for that to exist on the scale in which I want to do it, right? But by saying the scale in which I want to do it, that's like the truck build. Or excuse me, Scott Brady. I don't know why I almost said Dan Brady. Scott Brady just talked about, people have earth roamers for $1 million, but and travel, all over the world. But there's people that do in a Toyota Tercel, like a '98 Toyota Tercel. Like, you don't even necessarily, to overland, to worldwide vehicularly travel, you don't even need like 4-wheel drive always. I mean, it's just really up to your determination level, honestly. But and again, I've talked about Scott Brady a little bit before, but Scott Brady is he's somebody from like that did Expedition 7, before X Overland existed. Expedition 7 was like, did all 7 continents vehicle based. These are things I've followed, because I've been into this adventure travel. That's what I used to call it. It's called overlanding now, but adventure travel and like whatever. But pretty much since I got out of the military, I have kind of just went after whatever. And I think that I see in right now, and why I said I don't want to be the anti Dave Ramsey is the way I see things now is like, get the thing, put it on the credit card, like save for later when later gets here type thing. Now, I'm not, again, I said reckless abandon. I'm not, I play a pretty, I play a middle road with that. Like if later gets here, I don't want to be like, my, me and one of my friends talk a lot about like your current self and your future self. Like, are you working for future Charlie or are you working for current Charlie? And is future Charlie going to be upset about that, or current Charlie going to be upset because you prepared future Charlie for success? Like we talk like that a lot. And but I've never been in a position as, a male with a solid work ethic to where I've ever gotten myself into such a negatively deep scenario I couldn't get myself out, all the while still chasing something I enjoyed. So the negative connotation's not there. So like for instance, what I'm saying is like, I went to Colorado last year for 10 days on a whim. I was like, yes, do Colorado. Colorado's a thing to do. So I just went. And that's expensive gas and it's expensive stuff. And the trip required little bit of equipment. And didn't plan nothing. I just went, you know? And that's something that I feel like some people would get paralysis by analysis that would just keep them from doing it. And that's like kind of taking that leap to do something you want to do, even if it sounds weird. I find a lot of times that like, whether it's confidence or not caring, like what other people think, whatever you want to call it, um, allows me to just kind of, quote unquote, what the way people explain it now is just do the thing. So I do just jump. There are obviously some barriers in my life, children, that keep me from essentially living in South Africa, South America right now, and having drove there. That's probably a life I would like, quite honestly, live somewhere on a beach in South America, and that's something that if later gets here, I will probably pursue for sure. But right now, I'm not necessarily an international overlander unless you really call Canada and Mexico technically. I'm a North American overlander though. Um, but I do go and I do buy the things I want to buy, you know, for my truck. I bought my truck. If I want a piece of equipment to try, I buy it. I figure it out. I sell old stuff. I work odd jobs to fund the hobby and try to, do those odd jobs at times in which aren't peak travel times. I literally changed my career to where the busy time at work for me is in the winter, not the summer anymore. Like I have made a lot of changes to make this thing, a priority. Like my actual, like the things that fund my life, the things that make this house tick, pay the bills, all those things have or revolve around my passion, my hobby. And that is, vehicle based travel. And I was never much of a traveler because in my mind, until I could really, just say like, I want to just, road trip, adventure travel, whatever you want to call it. Travel was like, this was even before Airbnb was like resorts, hotels, flights, airports, luggage, rental cars. Like I didn't want nothing to do with any of that. And again, if that's what you want to do, like this exact everything I'll talk about today is going to apply. But the thing is that I feel like I struggle myself in today's world, even as grounded as I am in my passions and as grounded as I am in chasing them, that I even struggle to not seem, for lack of a better term, uh, mentally unstable potentially. Like, I guess that's like a dramatic way to say it, but like, when did chasing, when did it, and I'm not even chasing it, like I'm doing it. When did doing, things that light you on fire become like weird? Like, we live in such a time where everybody's like trying to include everybody, but at the same time, we're all like judging everybody at a maximum level to where like when people are like, "What are you doing this weekend?" I mean, there's no that question doesn't need to be asked. Like, the answer to that question is I'm doing kids or camping with kids. Like, that's what I'm doing. And it's not, I have no obligation to do it. It's not my job. I don't make any money from this thing. Like, it's what I enjoy doing. So it's what I go after. Hey, Steven, thanks for being here, man. Um, so it's just what I'm going after. So today, what's been weighing on me is just like this idea of 2020 happened, and like I felt like 2020 like opened everyone's eyes to like, holy crap, your world as you know it might stop. Like, and not in like just a like, but just like things you had the freedom to do you can't do anymore, so people pivoted to traveling uniquely and the outdoors uniquely. And we so quickly, and it's 2024, we've all fallen back into work, savings, the future, retirement, investments, all these things. And it's like, I don't know if everybody was just going with the flow what happened in 2020, but like I see a lot of people like doing a lot of planning for later that may never come. And I'm still up in here. I mean, I've been living that life since before that happened. Like, whatever I'm chasing, I'm doing it at 100%. And that's not a pat on my own back. Like, that comes with a lot of fear sometimes. I've been in situations where I've bought gear or went on trips that have left me so broke. I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do next month. But but I figured out, like, I make it so important to live that experience that I figure it out later. Like, and I'm gonna figure it out. I'm not gonna allow myself to fail. If I'm working at McDonald's, then so be it. That's $15 more an hour, $12 more an hour than I had. I'll go stock shelves until I catch back up. A night shift of shelves. I'll figure it out, dude. Like, start cutting grass. I'll start, whatever people might want. Any type of manual labor, which again, thankfully blessed enough to be able to do that. And I'll do it during the week. I'll lose sleep. I don't care, because it allows me to keep doing these things that actually, light me on fire enough to keep moving in the more mundane things like work, bills, kids, all those things. But I think that I just see so many people, and what led me to talking about this is like I get flaked on. Like, I used to invite people to go camping with me all the time, and this is where this begins. And the amount of times people are like, "I want to go, I'm gonna go." Oh, my ex, put something in. Oh, I forgot about this event. I forgot about that event. My wife this, or my kids that, or the dog, or oh, I totally blew my mind. I feel like people almost like really want to do something, but they're almost like afraid to do it. Weirdly, I don't know how else to really explain that. But I also feel like, and this has been me at different points, there are people that in today's day and age, it's so easy to watch someone else doing something that you can live so closely vicariously through them. It'll keep you just enough entrenched in their life to where you're not doing it yourself. And that's a unique point and thought that I have. But it's a real thing. And I said it a couple podcasts ago, but like, I do look up to a lot of social media people because they're accessible. Like, what they're doing, what trends they're following, what gear they're using, where they're going, like, gives me good ideas on where to go. Because, I'm lazy and I'm not reading books from the library anymore about, There's a book for every state, and the hiking trails there and the off-road trails there and the wildlife there and what there is to do there. There's a book for every state. It's a thing. Like, tons of older folks have given me atlases and national park maps and books and brochures, and like from the 90s, 80s, 90s, whatever, because they know I like to do that type of travel. They know that's the type I want to see. Like, those are the sites I want to see. I don't have any interest in, I've been to Rodeo Drive in Hollywood. I have no interest going to Prada or Gucci or Louis Vuitton, but I want to go see Mount Rushmore and the Grand Canyon and the Great Sand Dunes. And, you know, I want to go see Vermont in the fall. Like, those are things I want to see. I'm more interested in those natural things. But again, everything still applies. Everybody's like, I'm going to go on this epic road trip when I retire. And I'm going to find out how to do this epic road trip amidst my working years. Because what happens if, for instance, I get in a car wreck, I lose a leg? Well, you can't just rent any car. You can't just rent a car anywhere. You can't just get a car. Like, what do you do then? Like, how do you set up a rooftop tent then? Like there's no time like right now to be chasing those things, because the only thing that right now is right now. That's the only definite. The only definite I can tell you between today and tomorrow right now is that I'm doing this podcast. Like, I don't know that driving down the road is not going to result in a life-changing event. So I'm more worried about what life-changing event can I get into for the positive for me right now, tomorrow, like immediately, not when I'm 65 or 59 or 45, or like, if I care about it enough. Like, I think I have some goals later on down the road, but they're not my passions, if that will make sense. What I'm passionate about is having these experiences now, because now is the only time that I'm absolutely positive I could have those experiences until I can't. But I have a lot. I work it like, and I don't talk about work because it's kind of could potentially be a conflict for them, talking about it. But like, I work in the financial sector of things, so there's a lot of long term planning in those things. And not that I don't think setting yourself up for wealth later, you know, that's for somebody. Like, that's for somebody. But for me, my wealth is in experiences, is in trips, is in memories, is in smiles, is in pictures, is in like, I don't want to live my life being like, you know, like, I think of the kid that I am, and I think of my kids, and I'm like, even if I bought my kids a new car at 16, they're still going to remember the fun times we had. That's not going to be the most fun time they're going to remember. And no matter how, and again, you know, there are brain injuries, but like, your memories are going to be with you, whether they're good or bad, you know, and will the struggles you go through and the things that you do to do the things you want to do ha- overweigh the happiness of getting there? Or will what you had to do to get there late, with this way drawn out plan, kind of dig into, if that's really what you want to go after? Or will it seem frivolous? Will it seem not that important at that point? So I really try to take a lot of thought and reflection into, like, convincing myself to not be the norm, to be the one that's like, I want to do this thing, and like making sure that I treat it as big of a deal as I think it is in the moment. Because I have found myself a lot of times being like, that's an irresponsible thought. That's not going to set me up for success here or set me up for success there. But the way that I determine success is, did I spend my time the way I wanted to, enjoyably? Did I, you know, when I pass down to my kids, kind of like I said, my mom passed down to me, like, we live in a world where we're always giving something to somebody else. Whether it's, I get political, but whether it's taxes or, you contract essentially yourself for time at work for an amount of money, which then you have to give to your renter or your mortgage company. Like, but what are you doing for you? So I almost selfishly am like, I need to be doing for my kids, but I need to be doing for me too, not just for them, not just for the mortgage, not just for the bills, for me too. Like I often think about that, and I'm not married, but I have been, so I understand like there's a give and take there too. Like sometimes I would be doing for my wife or my girlfriend, something that I don't necessarily want to do. But I'm not them, so they'd need to speak up in those situations. So I could prioritize their, aspirations as well and let them know like, hey, we don't need to save $6,000 a month. Like we can spend it, all of it. Like we'll figure it out. Like, what do you want to do? Like, let's go do it. If you really want to do it, like if you're kind of him hawing, but like for me, it's like I want to do this X. I'm going to do this weekend, this the next weekend, this the next weekend. Like my schedule for camping and where like my schedule for camping is pretty vast. It's all the ways. Rain, shine, whatever. That's what I want to be doing. I just greatly enjoy being out in the outdoors. And whether you're passionate about hunting or sewing, or I would, you know, if you were passionate about sewing or crafts, I'd highly recommend like rent a storage unit, a space, buy that thing, that sewing machine, those threads, those books, those classes, like dive into that. This doesn't apply to just, you know, vehicle based travel, overlanding, anything like that. But I find it hard, and I don't, and again, I don't have a lot of recollection of this because I was a kid and now I'm an adult. And kind of like when I was in the military, like my adulthood is kind of blurred, honestly, weirdly. But like I don't remember, too many people when I was a kid, like chasing anything really that cool, like I thought was cool, like everybody's working for their family. But like I don't really remember my parents really doing a whole lot of stuff for them, you know? And I think I'm a lot more fun for my family when I'm having fun myself. And I include them, but I also care about what they want to do, I earlier on talked about, taking trips and taking into account, your audience at the trip, like whether I take my kids, a girlfriend, a wife, whatever, like I want to camp, but that doesn't mean that's all we're going to do. We're not just going to ride trails and camp. Like I'll adjust the trip to like have a water park in it or go-karts or antiquing or shopping or a restaurant they want to go to, or like make it work for everybody so it's enjoyable experience. I want to camp, so that's how I want to sleep at night versus a hotel. That doesn't mean the trip has to be revolve around it necessarily. So read the room you got with you. But when it's just me by myself or with this knucklehead Marvin here, we're just camping. I mean, we're happy to just sit. I mean, this is what we do, and it's what we like. And he's an Australian Shepherd, so I mean, he's got plenty of outdoor energy, so that's what we do. But I just see a lot in this space, I have seen this stuff dying out and the community, I loved the freaking 2020 through 2022 community because there was a lot more younger people like getting after it. But the community has all transferred back. Like the majority of the community in vehicle based travel and overlanding, you got your few me's there for sure. But everybody else going to off road parks, the easy stuff. Which again, if that's what you like doing, by all means, that's freaking sick. Do it all the time. Like have a blast. But there's not as many people doing vehicle based like adventuring, traveling as there was then, and the community is just right back to your, older empty nesters if they're not yet retired or retired. And I just, man, it just lights me up so much. I feel like I got to talk about it. Like how many people are like, man, I wish, I'm really close with my parents and they're in their 60s. So like I see both sides of it. Like I see both sides of like my age, we'll do it later. And then my parents' age, I wish I would have done it sooner. So that wrangles my brain a lot. Like, man, like, how do you, how do you decide? Because but in my mind, the only way I can decide is because I know where I'm at right now. But later, I might not be there, and that's where that I wish I'd have done it earlier comes in. So I just think about that stuff a lot. And is it tougher to take kids? There's a lot of accommodations to these things? There is. But like you gotta I mean, do what you do. Some of you guys don't have kids. But I can tell you for a fact, everybody that listens to this podcast, I don't think I have a stat for women. I don't think there's a girl that listens to this podcast. I mean, I would love if there was, but according to the statistics on, Spotify and Apple, now YouTube, I haven't looked at the stats on YouTube, but according to Spotify and Apple, like men watch this podcast. And I think there's a lot in the psyche of the middle-aged man that likes to be out in nature, but gets caught up in the house, the decorating, the kids' sports, dance, soccer, all these things to where it's hard. And when you're a man, and I'm a man, like I understand this, it's hard to go, hey guys, like I know it's super weird, but like, can we forego that barbecue and actually, could we go camping? Like, could we go fishing? And although they might not want to do that, I think it's important to bring it up because how many times did you not want to go shopping or go to that dance competition or want to, care about, fabric splotches or paint colors, but you really do want to go camping. And I'm not sitting here to be like, there's plenty of women, and I'll be the first person to tell you of all the nomadic people living in vans and living that life, very few men, many single women. If there are men, they're probably with a woman. There's very single men doing it and less men in general doing it. Women are doing it. So I will say that first off, but that is not the majority of women by any means. So I find it that men, and I struggle with this, and then it goes back. I'm just on a whole tangent with this, and hopefully you guys track with it, but like I find that a lot of men, when I try to plan trips, and bring your wife, bring your kids, like all, I'm never like guys trip, girls trip. I'm not that person. I'm just not that person. Like there is no, admission to come camping as far as I'm concerned. Like if you want to come is, and even if you're in a Subaru, we'll figure it out. Like I would love to just get you out, like I would be more than happy to adjust for that group. Or if you're not comfortable in your car, I got a seat in mine. Like that's fine too. Bring your own tent. I'm not gonna sleep next to you, but I find that I'm almost always, oh, we're gonna go camping, and the guy's always like, this thing, and it's like, man, I I'm not gonna fight with anybody in my life to go, but I'm gonna go, like because I value my own, time. I value my own time too, just as much as everybody else's. Like there's not a time in my life where I'm gonna go out to eat and not really value the server's time. That's time away from their family, friends, kids. Is that their first job or second job? As I mentioned before, I've had many second and third jobs to fund things I want to do at different points. I just figured it out, but like that's what those people are doing too. So I always value those folks. Gas station workers, like those typically aren't full time jobs people are doing late at night. Those are people that are trying to make it. So I was extremely respectful of that. But like it just all goes back to time for me. Like and again, the only moment you can be in and understand is right now. None of us can tell the future. We can only know the past. But I don't want to look at my past in the future and be like, man, I wish I'd have done that sooner. Even if I'm older, I want to look back and be like, because I've took the time to, kind of follow my own aspirations, prioritize it just as much as anything else instead of always doing for everybody else, doing for me too, that I will have, if I make it that long, I will have quite the, resume and Rolodex of awesome memories, and I'll probably do more things than I ever thought I could because I dedicated so much more time, as time goes and I keep trying, you know, I've done so much with it. So I'm always thinking like, I just don't see a negative in starting now. I don't see a negative in figuring it out. I don't see a negative in going with what you've got. I don't see a negative in put it on a credit card. Like, again, you would do that for 10 other things. People will do a HELOC on their house to get new countertops, but they won't put a size bigger tires on their truck to go to Sedona. Like $60,000 kitchen, $1,000 tires. Like, people just will justify stuff differently. And I bring that up because like that's a super common thing. Like, and when you say it like that, it's like, damn, do I value that new kitchen cabinet 60 times more than this awesome experience I could have had, if that's what you want to do. But like, if you really think about it, that's what it is. Like, and I hear it day in and day out. It is not, I don't live in Arkansas. I don't live in Arizona. I don't live in Southern or Northern California, Idaho, Montana. Like, my truck is a sore thumb everywhere I go. So I hear stories whether I want to hear them or not. I get opinions whether I want to hear them or not at the gas station, the grocery store, Walmart, the parts store. I mean, picking up my kids, teachers talk to me like, everybody's like, man, I'd love to do that. And I'm just thinking, then freaking, I'll give you a sleeping bag, dude. Like, go. Throw that sucker on a seat. Go, man. Go. You put gas in your car every day. That's all you need is gas. Go. But man, people are so averse to doing that. Like, they look at me like I got a freaking horn growing out of my head. I almost said something different. But they look at me like I'm losing my freaking mind. They look at me like I'm nuts when I know they're nuts because they're not doing it. Like, what the hell are you waiting on? What you waiting for? What? For later? How do you know later's coming? How? Somebody tell me the guarantee. I can tell you I'm going to go camping this weekend. I can't tell you I'm going to be camping this weekend in 2056. What am I waiting for 2056 about? Guys, like, I can't believe it. It like blows my mind. And again, there's nothing that's not important enough for you to go after at all. Johnny just commented, my friend Johnny, and Johnny's young. So I mean, and again, I really like getting to the younger crowd here. And it's nice for me to be friends with like Johnny and Zion. They're friends of mine, but they're in their mid 20s, maybe earlier 20s, mid to early 20s. But it's good that they're around me to see me like doing the thing. Because I think it's they go now, but they don't have kids yet. But I still go. Like, I still invest money in this hobby. I still, and still have children. So they don't have this idea of like, oh yeah, I used to do that before kids. Like, nope, we make it happen around here. It's important to me and we make it happen. That doesn't mean we don't go to freaking the mall. That doesn't mean we don't have cheerleading and dance and soccer and X things. Yeah. Yeah, and Johnny just said, I told you I don't know how you have time for it. And he's listening right now, but like, because I make time for it, because it's important to me. Like, Johnny and his wife, perfect example. Johnny and his wife went to Colorado to go skiing this year and camped the whole time. But then Johnny and his wife just went to New York and St. Louis, Chicago. But like, they're doing it. They want to do it. Do it, man. And I know Allie, his wife, whether she wants me to talk about her or not, is very into literature and books, and she's a teacher. And I can see them, kind of bridging that gap like I was talking about. Like, they both have a passion for something, but they're both doing that with each other. They're both prioritizing each other's individual passions, obviously. But like I see a lot of men, and this is not Johnny, obviously, that just provide for their wives, provide for their families, and then are left almost maybe not resentful, but yearning for their own passions. But they don't want to talk about their passions because they seem silly or immature or childish or expensive, or and then they kind of fall into the normal golf, because it's close and a lot of people do it. Things like that, things that are a little easier, but maybe aren't typically what they would go for. Like, you're not ever going to catch me golfing, guys. But a bunch of my friends that used to be real outdoorsy, they golf now. And I just don't, for the life of me, I don't even know how that happened. But if they like it, that's cool, dude. Do what you do. I, I don't really care. But the point is, like, these younger guys like Johnny, I mean, just said it. Like, I don't know how you do it, have time for it. And it's lost sleep. You know, I'm often planning trips, buying tickets, mapping routes, watching videos, reading articles and blogs right here in the same place I'm doing this podcast, in the complete dark and silence, because it's just, I have not went on a good or bad trip that wasn't a good trip, no matter how crappy it was. I've just never been in a travesty where it was such a bad time. I can look back at what would be, my worst trips, and man, I still really enjoyed it. There's a lot to learn. That's fun for me. Usually when it's harder, I kind of like it better. That's me. That might not be for your family or your wife or you, but again, if it's something you want to do, no matter what it is, camping, overlanding, building a truck, building a race car, going racing, playing softball, whatever. If you're just thinking you're going to have time and ability to do it later, I know that's not the case a lot. And you're just pushing off yourself to the point in which you're going to get, that's going to suck for you. You only get one life to live. And if you're just waiting to live, what are you, like, I mean, a synonym of life is live. And if you're only going through life and never living it a way you would like to, we're all going to die. And I don't know what that looks like. I'm alive right this moment, knock on wood. I don't know what that looks like. And we could get in, I mean, I'm not diving into that, but like, the point being is, like, I don't want to just be the guy that's worked and retired and raised kids. I think that's noble if that's really what you want to do. But I want to show my kids the outdoors, show my kids what being an adult with passion is, and prioritizing your passions while also still prioritizing your children's passions and adopting their passions and helping them achieve the things they want to achieve, whether I know about it or don't know about it, or I'm interested or I'm not interested in it. Just through love of not only them, but myself. Everyone's chasing dreams in my house. Everyone's opinion matters in my house. Not just kids. They're not more important than I am. I'm not more important than they are. Spouses, dogs. I mean, I'll go work on my truck later, but Marvin's not going to be sitting here. I'll take a dog bed. He'll sit in the shop. Like, everyone's included. Like, nobody's, I just don't understand this hierarchy of, like, I got to suffer now to live a better life later when I'm less able-bodied, when I'm less this or less that, but I got more money. Guys, like, again, I'm not the anti-Dave Ramsey, but like, I've just seen too many people go too young to think I'm going to wait till later. It just isn't going to happen. And again, I like vehicle-based travel, and vehicles are the single most dangerous apparatus you could be doing anything with. No matter how good of a driver you are, I mean, no matter what I'm doing, if somebody hits me, I mean, there's not a whole hell of a lot I can do about it. If a semi flips and it's got toxic waste and I'm on the road, like, my insurance driving app didn't predict that, like, shit happens. I'm not sitting and waiting for shit to or not to happen. and it's just been weighing on me like so hard as I talk to people because like I feel like people look at me like my life's a mess, and I couldn't be happier. You know, like I I got clothes that aren't folded. I got a messy kitchen table. You know, so I eat pizza a couple times a week. But man, I go camping, I plan trips, I build my truck. I like that's what's important to me. Like you only have so much downtime. I can't cook and clean and have everything perfect and have everything folded and put away and have a cool truck and have a clean house and mowed grass, and you just can't do everything amazingly. You have to prioritize it. Not that those things don't get done, but if it's between, oh, I got to do laundry, get up out of here. I'll wear dirty clothes to work before I miss a trip doing laundry. Are you joking me? Do I what? What? Like what? No, I don't have a job where people smell me for a living. I don't care. Like, but that's the type of crap people will be like, "Oh, there's too much this weekend, I got to breathe and sleep, and that the lights got to get turned on and off. I can't make it." Like, I'm exaggerating, but that's like the shit I hear. Like, get what? Do you want to go? Like, I almost feel like I gotta sometimes be like, pause, snap out of it, mother. Like, what are you doing? Like, again, if you don't want to go, by all means, don't go. I'll be the first person. You don't want to do it, you're way worse off doing it, no matter what it is, whether that with your kids too. Like, if you don't have a positive attitude about it, but again, find something you do have a positive attitude about and go after that. Because, geez, dude, I I don't know if I'm just ranting to even the right people right now. Because like so many people all the time, day in and day out, I just hear stories. I wish I'd have done that. Like however many people like I should start a podcast, I should start a YouTube, I should, that's how I even end up here. I was like, everybody's like, you should do a podcast or you should do a YouTube channel, and everything's way more involved than you ever think it's gonna be. Like everything. But you know what? Again, just like this podcast is just the same. It was a February 1st, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a podcast. My first episode was the 14th. I didn't know a single thing. Or was it even the 14th? I don't know if it was Valentine's Day. It was around then, second week of February sometime. In 2 weeks, I started a podcast. I figured it out. All the platforms, like, again, same thing. Stay up late, watch videos, read articles, figure it out. I don't have the best podcast. I'm on a laptop with a wired webcam in my kitchen. I mean, but people will tell you they need this room and this equipment and all that. You don't need shit. You need aspiration. You need purpose. You need reason. I'm not better than anybody, but I can't take my mentality, passion, and heart and gumption and like punch it into somebody else. But I do see a lot of quiet desperation amongst friends, colleagues, acquaintances that are really waiting for a different time that I quite frankly don't think's ever coming. They're gonna have, wish they'd have done something that they're not doing right now. I think they're gonna wish they did it. And maybe I'll get old and brittle and I'll still be figuring out with 2 or 3 jobs and be like, man, that sucks. But also at the same time, it doesn't suck right now though. And I don't know, like, I don't know if that juice is worth the squeeze later, but I they don't know that juice is worth the squeeze later either. But I can tell you right now it is, while I'm able to do it. I also don't want to be in a situation where I'm chasing all these things I'm real passionate about, letting my kids see me be real happy after they're out of the house. Like my kids get to see me be happy at a young age, doing something I enjoy and am passionate about at a young age, because they're seeing dad do cool. Like kids idolize their parents no matter what, you know? And they really think a lot of the stuff I do is cool, at least right now. And the time will come where I got proms and homecomings, but there's no reason why I still can't be camping. There's no reason why I still can't be driving this truck or a truck like it, you know? It, no reason my daughter's first car isn't a Jeep and she's doing it with me if that's what she so wants to do. As I introduced it to her, I didn't just leave it to pop culture to raise my daughter into what the world wants her to think is cool. My son, you know, they'll be into something unorthodox from the norm. I don't know, but I'm not going to keep them closed minded to sports and aesthetics and typical things: baseball, basketball, football, track, cheerleading, council, like and kayaking, canoeing, hiking, biking, swimming, whatever else, anything they're in, they want. I'm into letting them do anything because that's what I was allowed to do, and I've got a lot of cool hobbies: fabricating, welding, cars, camping, craft, military. Like none of that's the normal college, high school stuff. And now again, not all that was quite my parents probably wouldn't promote it still, the military, but I did it. It's what I did and it happened. But anyways, I've rambled here, but ultimately, you guys just, it's like the quote you've probably every person on social media seen here like, you know, I forgot to tell my wife I love you this morning. Well, I'll tell her when I get home. How do you know you're going to get home? Like, don't sit and think that it's always going to be later because it won't. Later might not come. That's in back of my head all the time. Anytime I even have a bad day planning for something or building something or do like last night I put my new rooftop tent on. Tonight I'm going to work on my clearancing my fenders for my tires. That's not necessarily what I want to do after also doing this podcast, after also working all day, after also cleaning, after like but if I want to enjoy this weekend, which I definitely want to do, that's just what has to happen. That's what has to fall in place. Otherwise, I'm going to be regretting it when my tires are rubbing or when I'm in my new tent sitting in the garage and my old tent's on the truck. And that's frustrating, like you got to think like what matters, like what's important to me and making that happen, making that work. So I hope this catches some people. It is not the normal. It's not necessarily about just overlanding. I mean, hopefully I tried to tie it all to that, but like hopefully that gets some more people like shopping, shopping for a different vehicle or putting some things in a different perspective so they can get out and be chasing, not even chasing, fulfilling their aspirations. Like it's not out of reach. I will tell you all right now, I do not make a lot of money. And this makes me no money. This costs me $300 actually. Uh, make it happen. You might not always eat steak every night, but you can make it happen, and eating steak every night's not as cool as going camping all the time. Figure you guys can figure it out. That's all I'm saying. It's life's not just full of excuses and letdowns, and later may not come. And even later, that might not be what you're interested in. By learning how to prioritize yourself and love yourself and go after what you want to go after, when you're older, you'll still be doing that, even if it's skee ball, or souping up golf carts on the retirement community, whatever it is, you do, play cards. Whatever. You'll hone those skills of like I can make it work. I can make it work. I can make it happen. I can do what I want to do. You know, I can make it happen. You'll learn a lot from that. So that's what I got for everybody this week. Really hope it touches some people that are on the fence or kind of finding themselves being full of excuses or full of later, 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 later. I can't right now. It's just not a good time. Like find a now, find a good time, go after the stuff you want to go after. You know, being miserable when you could be doing something isn't the way I want to be when I can't. When I can't do something, I don't want to really be wishing that I'd have just Got off my brain from the reasons not to. I am doing that. I am absolutely doing that. So that's all your that's a lot of your people that play professional sports, a lot of your successful business people. That's what it takes for all of them, for me, them. Hopefully that reaches you guys. I'll be back next week. I'll have a guest on. I canceled them tonight, so I'll have them on next week. I just, for whatever reason, felt like I really needed to get this out in the world. So I hope you guys all have a good evening. I hope some of you start planning a trip for the weekend or a couple weeks from now, or or having some conversations, in your houses or with yourself, or about, what's important to you. What do you want to be doing, and trying to make that fit within your dynamic of your lifestyle as it is right now. So some of that touches you guys. And again, as always, really, really appreciate you guys all listening, being here. Just in general, like it, whether or not it supports me in any other way, seeing all the people listening and where you guys are all from, is the coolest thing to me that anybody cares what I have to say. So I love you all, like literally love you all. And thank you. Everybody have a good week, and